10 best things to do in Paris, plus our biggest mistake. Voila!
We've stayed in 3 different neighborhoods in Paris, and today we'll tell you our top places to see, including the world's most famous avenue, Champs-Élysées, where to get amazing free views of the Eiffel Tower, if it's worth it to pay for a boat ride on the Seine River, the best people-watching spots, the most beautiful free garden in all of Paris, the Louvre Museum, the Notre Dame Cathedral, and where to find the cutest hidden street in Paris.
We'll also share the best nightlife district in Paris, explore the Pantheon, let you in on the simple trick to avoid stairs in the famous neighborhood of Montmartre, and I'll admit my naked mistake.
It's actually a more common mistake than you'd think.
It sounds better if we use the French phrase for it, fox pass.
You mean faux pas?
Yes, a faux pas. We'll get to that later.
So let's start with number 10 on our list, but certainly not least, strolling the gorgeous Luxembourg Gardens.
Paris is divided into districts called arrondissements. We stayed in an Airbnb in the 6th arrondissement near peaceful Luxembourg Gardens. But even if we hadn't stayed nearby, the Luxembourg Gardens are worth the trip.
The park is free. In addition to wide, tree-lined sidewalks and flowers, you'll find impressive fountains. There's even a little man-made lake they call Grand Basin. It's full of toy boats and ducks, and it's surrounded by historical statues. You'll also see the beautiful architecture of the French Senate building, which is called Palais du Luxembourg.
From Luxembourg Gardens was actually your first view of the Eiffel Tower. Voila!
It was beautiful.
One thing I didn't know before coming to Paris is that you can pretty much see the Eiffel Tower from nearly anywhere in the city. It's not like New York where tall buildings block your view of everything. Paris doesn't have many super tall buildings. And then I got homesick for America, so right there in the garden we posed with the Statue of Liberty, a replica of course.
For those who don't know, the big Statue of Liberty in New York was a gift from France and was designed by the French sculptor Frédéric Auguste Bartholdi. And its metal framework was built by Gustave Eiffel. Yes, the same Eiffel who built the Eiffel Tower.
Speaking of which...
Number 9. Picnic in front of the Eiffel Tower. A picnic in front of the Eiffel Tower was a must-do for me at Champs-Élysées Gardens. Unfortunately, when we went there, was construction blocking that area, but we did get to sit on a park bench on the street called Allée Adrien Lecouvreur. It's pretty much right next to the Eiffel Tower.
The Eiffel Tower light show starts when it gets dark. The tower sparkles for 5 minutes at the start of each hour until 11 p.m.
Number 8. Walking magnificent Champs-Élysées, the most famous avenue in the world. Start your walk at the Arc de Triomphe and continue about 30 minutes to Place de la Concorde. Sometimes, on the first Sunday of the month, they prohibit cars, and that'd be a more relaxed way to enjoy the beauty and shops of the avenue. While we were walking, it started raining really hard, so we had to get an Uber.
Seeing the sights from inside the car was kind of cool too. When he dropped us off, remember what he said?
He said, voila.
But is dropping you off at your destination voila worthy? I don't think so. I mean, if you rolled out a red carpet for us, then yeah, but let's continue with...
Number 7. Explore the artistic neighborhood of Montmartre and get beautiful views of Paris from the Sacré-Cœur. Montmartre is a pretty neighborhood on a large hill in Paris's 18th arrondissement.
Best of all, they have a funicular.
Yes, instead of taking stairs up the hill to the Basilica,
take the funicular!
The funicular is basically a cable car. It costs about $2 per person and saves you from climbing the stairs. So we went to Montmartre at night, and we went inside the Basilica, which is free to do, and we walked the streets a bit and found cute restaurants in the square.
But then tell them what happened.
Oh yeah, the disgusting rats. So at the base of the steps of the Sacré-Cœur in Montmartre, which is a beautiful basilica, there's a grassy area where people sit and hang out and listen to live music, and it was covered in rats. They looked like little squirrels everywhere, but it was rats.
But in happier news, in Montmartre we also had our second best meal in Paris.
We went to La Cuvée Montmartre. We had the
steak
and red wine.
Remember when that lady sat next to our table outside and asked you a question in French?
Yeah, I didn't know what she was saying, so to be polite, I said, oui.
Turns out she wanted to smoke, so then you were choking on her gross cigarette exhaust.
Here's an insider tip. Don't say oui if you don't know what they're asking.
You know, I want to address a Paris myth, or maybe it used to be true, but when we went, we had nice service and restaurants everywhere we went. Maybe it's because we always greet people by saying bonjour or bonsoir.
But when does bonsoir start? 6 o'clock? I think I said bonjour at 4 p.m. and it was already bonsoir time.
I think it starts when you can see the very first evening rat in Montmartre.
Okay, let's move on to number 6. Enjoy wine bars and nightlife in the Latin Quarter. One of our favorite neighborhoods in Paris is the Latin Quarter. It's in the 5th arrondissement.
It has a young professionals vibe, and many places have a classy atmosphere.
I loved the wine bar Chez Nous. They had a delicious French Bordeaux.
And I had an imported wine from Russia called vodka. We also tried the food in Paris. We had to fulfill your dream of eating butterbugs.
You mean escargot, not butterbugs.
Do they crawl on the ground? Are they squishy? If one was in the house, would you panic and want me to remove it?
Anyway, I also wanted to taste delicious Paris pastries like croissants and pain au chocolat.
Excusez-moi, waiter, there's a snail bug in my croissant. La, you're lucky. Usually this costs extra. So at this point, we're up against the clock.
Time was running out.
Many restaurants in Paris closed at 9 or 10 p.m., and we were on a mission to get you butterbugs.
Snails.
Yes, so we made it just in time to get served, but then we faced a bigger problem.
I have no idea how to eat escargot.
Me neither. We researched everything, but apparently we didn't look this up. I figure maybe it's like cracking open a lobster and we'll get little land lobster bibs.
Ooh, I like land lobster. Way better than calling them butterbugs. So fancy.
So the waiter brings out the surgical instruments.
I think you mean eating utensils?
No, not really.
So you eat escargot by digging the snails out of their little shells. They give you these mini tongs and a mini fork to dig them out with. And the tricky part is that they're stuck in there. They don't slip out easily.
And how did you like escargot?
No, it was exactly like you'd expect. Although the green sauce that they had on it tasted a lot like Alfredo sauce.
I mean, nearly anything slathered in butter is gonna be okay. So that's when I made my naked mistake.
No sauce.
Right, when you eat snails without sauce, it's called eating it naked. Big mistake. It was like chewing gum that had been stuck under the desk at school for a few years.
Number 5, sipping coffee or aperitivo in a cafe and people watching. We love people watching, so a must-do on my Paris list was to relax at a cafe and chit-chat over a cappuccino.
So I took you to the best cafe in Paris, Le McDonald's.
That was to use the bathroom, although McDonald's in Paris does have tasty and cheap macaroons.
We went to a few Parisian cafes like Café Carousel and Café Varenne. And we did get free snacks with our drinks because we went during happy hour. Although at one cafe...
They gave me a dirty fork. It was like really dirty.
I got to use my French. Excusez-moi, but this fork has le filth. May I have a new one, s'il vous plaît? And then she brings you a new fork.
And she says, voila.
Yeah, that is not voila worthy.
Let's tell everyone about number 4, Rue Claire, the cutest street in Paris.
The best food we had in Paris wasn't in a restaurant or cafe. Our most delicious meal was from a street vendor, but not a food cart, from a caterer with a pop-up shop on Rue Claire.
It's called Jousselin. Rue Claire is lined with fresh fruits and vegetable stands, restaurants, and other pop-up food places too.
Now here's a place to get incredible views and take in history at the same time. Number 3, the Pantheon. We went to the Pantheon to get out of the rain, pay respect to the great people of Paris's past like Voltaire, Marie and Pierre Curie, Louise Braille, Josephine Baker, and to see the amazing city view from the top, and to get out of the rain.
Number 2, Notre Dame Cathedral. The Notre Dame is nearly 1,000 years old and is one of the most famous medieval cathedrals in the world. When we first went to Paris, it was still closed for repairs, but on our second trip to Paris, it had just reopened. Now, we weren't able to reserve free tickets online because they do limit the number of tickets, so I recommend booking in advance directly on the Notre Dame website, but we did enjoy seeing the rebuilt architecture from the outside.
Now, before we reveal the number 1 thing you must do in Paris, we need to add more activities. The Louvre Museum.
If you're an art lover, the Louvre is a must-do.
So we skipped it. Well, we skipped the inside. We did enjoy the architecture and took photos. I do appreciate certain statues in real life, but I rarely am willing to wait in line to see one. An exception would be like the statue of David in Florence. That's an amazing statue I'm glad I saw in real life. But Maddie really appreciates the art of French doors.
Moving on to number 1, an evening boat ride on the Seine River to see major sites lit up at night.
Now this was epic, so dope.
The company that we used was named Bateaux Parisiens, and it's a very basic sightseeing cruise that doesn't really offer food and there's no extra frills, but it's pretty affordable. It costs about 8 to 10 euros per person.
So I like that we have the option to sit indoors with glass windows to see out, or head outside to get an unobstructed view. And when the Eiffel Tower lit up and sparkled over the shimmering water, voila! Subscribe for more, send this video to someone who has Paris on their wish list, and for more insider travel tips, join our email list on touchdownmoney.com.